the nature of, I guess, a holiday and celebrating a holiday is really more about what you value. And so if they value something else, I guess.
So in that case, you would say that the neo-Nazis celebrating Hitler's birthday is just as valid as Christmas, legitimate as Christmas.
Yes, I would.
Oh, sorry, what was your name again?
Christian.
Christian.
Yeah.
Okay, you said you had a question. So that it's just, I don't believe Kwanzaa is as legitimate as a holiday as Christmas, and it's changed my mind.
Firstly, I don't quite want to change your mind yet. I was curious what you meant when you said legitimate. Like, what makes a holiday legitimate in your mind?
Sure. I guess in this instance, let's say I don't believe it's a holiday that should be celebrated with passion or fervor. Christmas, and listen, let's acknowledge right off that we don't necessarily know when Christ was born, right? It could be a celebration because of the winter solstice and the Babylonians, so let's go with that. But Christ had a historical impact that was significant, that was very positive. Whether you think Christians are good or not, Christ himself, there's very little argument that he was a bad historical figure. And of course, it's been celebrated in societies for a very long time and steeped in tradition based on a legitimate historical figure. Christ didn't create Christmas. People created Christmas in honor of Christ.
I see what you mean.
Kwanzaa. Yes. Do you know when? Well, so that's why I believe Christmas is a legitimate holiday. Would you like to know why I don't believe Kwanzaa is?
Yeah, sure.
Unless you wanted to take the ball there and run with it.
Well, firstly, I should say I'm not very educated on Kwanzaa, but I'm more.
Do you celebrate Kwanzaa?
No, I don't. I'm more interested in calling a holiday legitimate because. Yeah. Like, I think firstly you need to define a holiday, and so a holiday, I guess, is sort of like a celebration.
Yes.
Based often on like a value or something like.
Historical figure or event.
Something. You're celebrating some event like winter solstice or something along that line. And so essentially, for something to be a holiday, it really just means that you personally value it and celebrate it.
Well,
and so,
not necessarily as a society, right? So. With the United States, we celebrate Christmas because it's 1,600 years of tradition and 92% of Americans celebrate it.
I see what you mean.
Now, you're African-American, is that?
Yes.
Do you prefer what, African-American, black,
just
person
black.
of color? I don't want to get the ACLU on. Okay, black. So you said black. See, I had one person say, how dare you say black? This is where we've come to as a country. So 92% of Americans celebrate it. You're black, you probably celebrate Christmas.
I don't celebrate.
You don't celebrate Christmas any day? Okay. Well, even a higher percentage of black Americans celebrate Christmas than white Americans. Less than 4% of African Americans celebrate Kwanzaa. It's likely closer to 1%.
Yeah.
Nobody celebrates it. Now, we're told that it's as legitimate, and we teach it alongside Christmas or Hanukkah or Passover. Are you aware of the history of Kwanzaa?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Is anyone here? Well, keep it between just you and I. And then after we can go, because this is one a lot of people don't know. Kwanzaa was invented in the 60s.
I knew that much.
Either 66 or 68. Do you know by whom?
No, I don't recall.
Okay, just one question. Who was the inventor of Kwanzaa?
I know you.
Stop it.
Irrelevant.
All right. Maulana Karenga. Yes, Maulana Karenga. Known by his real name as Ron Everett. So Ron Everett invented Kwanzaa in the 1960s. Now, he's the man who invented it, right? Himself. So let's say Christ invented Christmas. It was like, you're all going to celebrate my birthday. Right?
Okay.
I don't demand you celebrate my birthday. It was other people who honored him. Ron Everett wanted other African Americans to celebrate Kwanzaa. I don't know if you know, it's not an African deal.
Yeah.
It's entirely African American. Ron Everett based the ideas of Kwanzaa, if you look at their practices actually, it's rooted deeply in far left communism and Marxism. He even mentioned Cuban and Chinese socialism, communism as the roots for Kwanzaa.
Okay.
This was a man who was deeply troubled. This was a man who actually was charged with abusing two women of his black nationalist party, forcing them to put soldering irons up against their skin, beating them with electrical cords. A really, really bad person.
If you don't mind if I cut in,
go ahead.
That seems like a bit of an ad hominem, so it's kind of like...
No, he did. He was...
I know, but it's like, it's sort of irrelevant to your point is all I wanted to say.
Well, it's not, because here's why. Let me ask you this. How did you feel about the Confederate statues?
Confederate statues? I feel like my position on Confederate statues is very odd because I could definitely see like it's almost like a swastika. It's like it's just a symbol, and at the end of the day, it's completely meaningless.
Okay.
But it's kind of hard to deny the fact that there is a history attached to it.
Sure.
And so and that history can make people feel very uncomfortable.
Yes.
And so I felt like there was justification to remove the Confederate statues.
Okay.
Because it made people not feel safe.
Sure.
I feel like as a society, that's sort of like a goal we should push for, to make people feel safe. And so, but I didn't feel like taking them down, just breaking them and things like that was necessarily justified, because I feel like, particularly, it was more about the artwork for me. I felt like the statues were very intricate artwork.
Don't hold here. We won't be able to hear you because you got a soft voice. It's very soothing, but I can't hear it in the mic. Well, the reason I asked this, and I understand that that's nuanced, right?
Yeah.
Now, let's remove the nuance, okay?
Yeah.
The reason the nuance, like, for example, a lot of the Founding Fathers we celebrate in memoriam because they were virtuous, even if they had slaves. Like, I think we can all agree George Washington did some great stuff.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree, even though Abraham Lincoln, right, had slaves at one point, did some good stuff, right? So the reason that we celebrate a lot of these people is because they had some good qualities.
Yeah.
But I understand the nuance. Now, how would you feel if there were, or what would you think if there were a holiday dedicated to someone who was a slave owner, who abused their slaves, who called for violence against others, who really was an overall bad person but didn't have any redeeming value? Would you say that that holiday is as legitimate as Christmas?
I think I would say yes, and that I say that because of the nature of, I guess, a holiday and celebrating a holiday. It's really more about what you value, and so if they value something else, I guess.
So in that case, you would say that the neo-Nazis celebrating Hitler's birthday is just as valid as Christmas, legitimate as Christmas.
Yes, I would.
Okay. Well, in that sense, then I would just disagree. Okay. I mean, as a societal holiday, Kwanzaa is not as legitimate as Christmas.
I think that's really where our disagreement is. I think the core issue is that you find holidays for it to be legitimate, it has to be societally accepted.
Well, let me ask you
socially
this. Should we teach the celebration of Hitler's birthday alongside in history class Christ or
I would say
George Washington or the Emancipation Proclamation? Should we teach this as a holiday?
I would say no. Okay. But I also would say
Kwanzaa, so it's a legitimate holiday.
I would say that we shouldn't teach Kwanzaa, but I would also say that we shouldn't teach Christmas. And so I don't think that it's particularly more legitimate in that sense.
Okay. I think we disagree, but I appreciate your consistency on that.
May I ask, though, why do you think Christmas should be taught in classrooms?
Well, I think Christmas is celebrated, because of the founding of our country and the idea of Judeo-Christian principles. Again, 1,600 years of established tradition, and 92% of Americans celebrate Christmas.
Yeah, but it's sort of like a separation of church and state thing. It's like, sure, that makes a lot of sense to teach your kids about Christmas. Yeah. But you should teach your kids about Christmas. It doesn't belong really in the schools, I feel.
I mean, listen, there are many kids maybe don't necessarily celebrate Kwanzaa. Right? Yeah. If that many kids weren't involved in the the French Revolution, but they're learning about it. They're learning about Christmas because there's 1,600 years at least of celebrated tradition and 92% of Americans. They need to learn about it. My issue is when we teaches though, because of political correctness, Kwanzaa is the same in tradition, in scope, in practice, or in value, because it's not. That's my position.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you, though. Yeah, I think we agree on some, and I appreciate your consistency and how respectful it's been productive.
Yeah, that was interesting. Thank you.
Christian?
Yes.
Thank you, Christian.
Can I just place this here?
Yeah, you can place that there. Thank you.
Watch Louder with Crowder live Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.